Well, when I was a wee lad and I was poor and I was sad and I was depressed and I was out of shape and I was single and I was broke, I didn't like those things. So I joined one gym, then another, then another. Then I joined World Gym, and I'm taking notes with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno. Okay, 47 sets of chest. Seems extreme, but okay. You know what I mean? Like, all right, we're
taking notes of what they're doing, what they look like.
3.5 hours of squats with weights. Okay, I'll do it. What are you doing? I go, I'm doing it in my buddy's garage. So I started training my boss. And then I started training some people that worked on the lot. And I found these 2 doctors that I was starting to train. I went, well, maybe I'm a trainer now. Of course, I wasn't certified. I didn't know anything from anything.
You were just the fitness guy.
I was just a guy who was working out, and I was spying on everybody else in 4 different gyms.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, shit. Not expecting that. Wow. The ripple effects of history that you don't know.
Tom Petty, Billy Idol, Bruce Springsteen, Annie Lennox, Stephen Stills, Bryce Dallas Howard, Allison Janney, Octavia Spencer, Joey Fatone. The bottom line is, it makes me a better, more productive human being, and I like the way I feel, and I like the way I look, and it helps me it keeps my enthusiasm for my energy and enthusiasm for life up. Without it, it's down. With it, it's up. And I learned later on that that works for everybody once you find the formula and you find your reason why.
Tony, officially, welcome to the show, man. I'm so stoked to have you here. You're a legend.
Who was a legend?
You're a legend.
Talking
this
to
guy.
me?
This guy.
Chase, are you sure?
This guy.
This guy?
This brings me back to my roots. I'll share
Checks
with you.
in the mail. Thank you, Bo. Thank you. It's
I'll
great to
take
be
it.
here. It's great to be here.
This is, you and what you have done and continue to do is one of the biggest reasons why I got into the industry, originally fitness. But before we kind of dive into your secret sauce and what you got going on now, I got to ask.
It's Chipotle sauce, mostly.
I knew it. I've been on the Chipotle game for years.
So I guess I'm out. That's it.
This is it. Cut. What is it, though? As someone who is 65 years old, you clearly care about this for yourself and your profession. How do you keep this passion for fitness, longevity, alive decade after decade?
Well, when I was a wee lad and I was poor and I was sad and I was depressed and I was out of shape and I was single and I was broke, I didn't like those things. You know what I mean? And, I had the speech impediment that really made life hard for me when I was as a youngster and through college. And then I worked at trying to eliminate that, and it took some effort. Reading a lot of books out loud, listening to the recordings afterward. I chose acting in high school and college just as a means to learn somebody else's words. And like a lot of people who have a speech impediment or stutter, they can sing brilliantly, but in their normal conversation,
it's that normal cadence that's the issue.
Yeah, and so I got to learn the lines that kind of slowed me down. And so I had a lot of obstacles, and I played intramural basketball and football. My father was a super jock, and but I wasn't. He was on the road a lot because of work, because I was in a house with my 2 sisters and my mom, so I didn't have a brother or a father mentor. And all the coaches and stuff from the 70s were all about the win-loss column. They weren't really about the quality of my life and my athleticism. They didn't really want to work with me. Either you performed on the court or on the field, or you didn't, and if you made the team or you didn't. And I made the football team, but I was more of a tackling dummy on Monday through Thursday than I was a player. Like I would roll around during the warm-ups in the dirt and mud, so I looked like I played.
Hey, every part of the team matters, right? At least
No,
that's just what they tell all the people not playing.
I didn't matter. I did it because I wanted to wear my jersey on Fridays because I thought girls in school would want to date me. I did it for all the wrong reasons. So because of all the trials, tribulations, and difficulties I had as a youngster, I took a weightlifting course in college. It was a course. I go, okay, well, I'm going to learn how to do this properly because I never had all right, what do I have to learn?
It was like an actual class.
It was an actual class. It was
for credits.
It was 4 credits. It was a single credit, and I got an A, yay. And what I liked about it was the exercise science and the kinesiology and, why muscles do what they do and how to work them and how often and how many reps and range of motion and working on all those different things I didn't know about. And I went, this is going to equate to my general athleticism as a person when I play other sports. And the number one reason was the coach or the teacher, the teacher of the class was a fun, cool dude. I mean, he was just super encouraging. I'd never had a mentor like that. Yeah. I didn't get that from my dad. He was a tank commander in the Army. He was a hard ass.
Badass.
He was a hard ass. It was like my way or the highway kind of thing. And whatever. Everybody has their parents' story. You get over it. So I met this guy, and I got jacked, and I got strong, and my GPA went up that month because little did I.
Stay jacked and strong.
Well, no, I stayed jacked and strong for the course of that semester, and then when the course was over, I had no reason to go back to the gym. I was just back to my skinny little self again. And long story short, I moved out to California, and I saw the culture out here. And this place there's gyms on every corner, and there's the beach volleyball, and there's skiing in the local mountains, and I went, oh wow, this is really cool. And a lot of I look at an aerobics class and go, oh women, can I go in there? Can I go in that room? Sure, like I'm going in. You know what I mean?
Like, is this all women by design? Am I allowed or not?
Yeah, I just thought because, dudes were not usually taking aerobics classes. And I was a single, lonely guy. And, I wanted to meet people. And I'd go to clubs and bars, and it was, it's the usual hellscape. And I just thought, oh, these are the kind of people I want to hang out with because they care about their health and their wellness and their fitness. So I joined one gym, then another, then another. Then I joined World Gym, and I'm taking notes with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno. Okay, 47 sets of chest. Seems extreme, but okay. You know what I mean? Like, all right, we're
taking notes of what they're doing, what they look like.
3.5 hours of squats with weights. Okay, I'll do it. You know what I mean? And so, and then I noticed that and when you read a book like Spark, John Ratey's book Spark, you understand the effects of physical activity on not only your aesthetics or your appearance or the numbers on the scale or whatever you think is important, which turns out not to be so important after you get to a certain age. It's really your mental and emotional state. And so I discovered a long time ago. And I still work out because I like that.
Look at this, everybody. You got to check out the video.
That's my torn bicep.
My man is 65 over
The
here.
other one's better. There's a little bit better.
He's got bigger biceps than I do.
There you go, man. Not bad for an old cat. And I just felt better, and I had more energy, and I slept better, and there were all these other things, these ancillary positive effects in my life, and it helped me get off my ass. And then, that in conjunction with making some better food choices, because I was living on hot dogs and burgers and pizza and double cheese chimichangas. You know what I mean? I was just like, whatever I could afford. And I had 47 jobs, most of them odd. One of them being a pantomime at the pier in Santa Monica or whatever I had to do to eat. And I was a handyman, and I was a general assistant manager of a men's clothing store, and
whatever the job
I was a
needed.
go dancer at Chippendales for a summer.
Can we get some footage? I need some B-roll of that.
We'll have to pull that out. You're not going to find that, man.
There's no cell phone footage of that.
You're not going to find that, people. You're going to have to. There were no phones back then.
We got to dig deep. Got to dig deep.
So the bottom line is, it makes me a better, more productive human being, and I like the way I feel, and I like the way I look, and it helps me it keeps my enthusiasm for my energy and enthusiasm for life up. Without it, it's down. With it, it's up. And I learned later on that that works for everybody once you find the formula and you find your reason why. A lot of people are doing this stuff for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And I figure I found this formula, and I've transcended that to, I don't know, several million people.
And a few of those million people, I know the content you create and the courses and the videos and all this stuff, you reach millions of people in all walks of life. But as someone who has been at the top of the fitness game for so long, I'm sure you have worked with some, you don't need to say any names if
I'll
you
say
want
names,
to.
they don't care.
Who are some of the most known people that you have worked with, and what have been the biggest barriers to getting their shit together, staying adherent? Because what I'm going for here is we're all human, right? And when we embark on our fitness journey, we all come up with the same BS.
Know what you're saying.
This is my first fully AI guest.
Chase.
Reboot.
Ace.
That was actually pretty good.
Well, it was the
Taking me back to the
pantomime.
pantomime. Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, shit. Not expecting that.
$25 and a hat. I'd run to the local liquor store, and I'd buy myself Cheerios and yogurt and live on it for 3 days. I did that time and time.
So were you on the If It Fits Your Macros game before that was a thing?
I was on the what?
If It Fits Your Macros. IIFYM. That kind of like trend in diet culture for a while, maybe like 10 years ago.
My macros were Cheerios and yogurt, man. I couldn't afford vitamins.
So is that what you're passing on to the celebrities?
Macros I could afford. Micros I could not. I couldn't afford them.
What about the craziest encounter with a well-known person, author, celebrity, and what did you have to do to get them, adherent?
I say that, huh? Well, I started training my boss. I was a runner over at 20th Century Fox, a PA, a production assistant.
Okay.
And that was one of my many jobs, and that was a real job. And what was cool about it, I was auditioning and going to acting classes, and I was with Second City LA, and this was before I tried stand-up, and I tried that for a while. This was all just trying to, get my cojones to harden.
Well, what haven't you done in LA?
I mean, you just got to do what you got to do to eat and live and survive, and not have to go back to Connecticut with your tail between your legs, So I was training this guy, Harlan Goodman, and he was in the music industry, and he and this woman, Julia Phillips, who was a producer, who and her husband John Phillips produced Close Encounter of the Third Kind, Taxi Driver with De Niro,
wow.
And The Sting with Robert Redford and Paul Newman. So I was with some big shots, but it was crazy. I mean, she's passed away, but she was hard, and I got fired almost every Friday because I didn't change the light bulb properly or something, or I hid the pot someplace where she couldn't find it. Whatever it was that I had to do, and Harlan was noticing my transformation as I was starting to work out, because my agent at that time, I had an agent. Big movie stars go on Johnny Carson, and they have agents, and I have one, so she must be a goddess. And she said, "You're pudgy and you're skinny, and we're not going to hire. They're not going to hire that." Like, I had a little belly, and I wasn't working out anymore since that college course. And so I went to the gym, and over the 3 months period, I got into it. And Harlan, my boss, was like, "Damn, dude, what's going on with you?" And I said, "You let me go on auditions, and according to my agent, I look like ass." So I said, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm doing it in my buddy's garage." So I started training my boss. And then I started training some people that worked on the lot. And I found these 2 doctors that I was starting to train. I went, well, maybe I'm a trainer now. Of course, I wasn't certified. I didn't know anything from anything.
You were just the fitness guy.
I was just a guy who was working out, and I was spying on everybody else in 4 different gyms. And I got Harlan to lose 35 pounds. He and I both quit at the same time. He went back to East End Management, which at that time was on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. And then and I've told this story more than once, and so here comes my Tom Petty impression. Get ready. Here it comes. So Harlan was walking down the hall, looking all svelte and gorgeous and everything else, and there's Tom Petty walking down the hall.
Not bad.
He sees Harlan. He's from Gainesville, Tom, and he goes, "Holy crap, Harlan, you look fantastic. I'm fat, and I'm going on tour, and nobody likes a fat rocker." And so Harlan says to Tom, "You'll call Tony Horton." "Oh, let me get Tony Horton's number." So he writes it down. He calls up my apartment, the apartment that I lived in for 21 and a half years, 1438 15th Street, number 7. So if you're watching, I lived there a long time. Same carpets the entire time. I'm assuming they've been changed since then.
All right, the go-go dancing in his old apartment. You got to do our research here on the B-roll.
Good luck.
I'm going to do some driving around after this one.
Good luck, man. And so the phone rang, and my roommate Bob, who dragged me out to California, thank God, picked up the phone, and Tom goes, "Hi, it's Tom Petty. I'm looking for Tony Horton." And Bob goes, "Dude, I think the guy's downstairs." So he hung up the phone on Tom Petty.
He's like, bullshit.
I go, "It's not Tom Petty." Hang up the phone. It's John downstairs screwing around. And so the phone rang again. "Hey, we got hung up on. I got hung up on." So I go, "Give me the phone." It was Tom, and he told me about Harlan.
Wow.
And I was at Tom's house the next day, and I got him ready for this tour. I had him for 4 months. We hit the heavy bag. We were lifting weights. We were on the life cycle. We were doing push-ups and whatever. And then he went off on tour. He tore all the sleeves off his shirts. He was wearing vests without shirts on. He was jacked and striated like me. His voice was better. The whole band was like...
I know the vest look of Tom and the Heartbreakers.
The vest,
Iconic.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Damn.
And so are you, and so are whoever else.
The ripple effects of history that you don't know.
You don't know.
That you don't know about. Wow.
And when Tom passed away, it was a tough time. But then it was Tom Petty, Billy Idol, Bruce Springsteen, Annie Lennox, Stephen Stills, Bryce Dallas Howard, Allison Janney, Octavia Spencer, Joey Fatone.
No way.
There was a period there when everybody was in town. I'd start out with this producer over at Fox, this woman, not Donna Dubrow, and her sister. And then I'd go to Billy's house. And then from Billy's house, I'd go to Tom Petty's house. And from Tom Petty's house, Annie Lennox from the Eurythmics lived around the corner from him. So I go to Annie's house. And then I go to Stephen Stills' house. I couldn't help you. Stephen just didn't want to work out. I could do a book on Stephen Stills. It was so much fun. And then I finished at the boss's house. If I wasn't training Bruce, I was training Patty. So I kept rock and roll alive from the 60s and 70s.
Literally.
You're welcome.
Literally.
Yeah.
This podcast is already going a totally different direction in my mind. Like, I got to get you back. This is not meant for Everforward Radio. I need to create a whole new show around the things in history that you didn't know were influenced by such little nuances.
Weird things. And the second part of your question is training all of them, and all their managers and all the King's horses and all the King's men were like, okay, hey, who's this kid and where's he from? And we've never heard him before. But they saw what happened to Petty, and they're like, okay, he must know what the hell he's doing. I mean,
not a bad testimonial.
It's kind of a word of mouth thing.
Right, yeah.
But it was those training techniques and those methods and the variety that I gave them. I mean, we called it muscle confusion with P90X, which is a made up term. It just was trying to, Jack LaLanne had periodization training, which is his way of doing it.
Yeah.
And we just said, and Billy Idol used to call me Muscle Confucius. Oh, Muscle Confucius.
So you went confusion.
Yes,
with
we
that.
went
Muscle confusion.
Muscle confusion.
Hold up. So hold on. One of the most iconic, whether you believe it or not, terminology or terms in the fitness industry, that's the story. I'm blown right now.
Arnold Schwarzenegger went out and said muscle confusion is crap, it's bullshit, it doesn't mean anything, it's made up. We didn't say it was made up.
Who
But
is
he was
this
like,
Tony
he was sick.
asshole?
I almost was gonna like, hey Arnold, let me tell you the story and where it came from before you bash
No
it.
shit. From Billy Idol, you said?
Yeah, Billy, because I would say, Billy, we're going to do this today. We're going to do this. I want you to work on your weaknesses as much as your strengths.
Oh, wow.
Because if you get into a pattern, you know what I mean? It's like eating broccoli breakfast, lunch, and dinner, right? It's just not. You're not going to get the nutrients in the vitamins that you need from just one thing.
You're going to get bored. You're going to
You need to do
bail.
the Pilates. You need to do the yoga. You need to hit the heavy bag. You need to get on the treadmill. You need to do interval training. I mean, you need to do, fartlek stuff. You need to lift heavy. You need high reps. You need low reps. You need bigger range of motion. You need cheat reps. Let's go. And then
We
we're
have
like,
muscle confusion from Billy Idol
Billy Idol.
and Tony Horton. Oh my God.
Yeah.
When we're done here, I'm texting all of my fitness friends and coaches. You're not
That's
going
where
to
that
believe
term
this
came
shit.
from. And then give Arnold a call and tell him to stop giving you a hard time.
Fast forward to now. That's your origin story. It's fantastic. And you clearly have been doing it for yourself and for your profession for decades now. Are you finding, or do you believe there is a difference in physical fitness for general training and exercise, let's say muscle building, body composition change versus longevity? Someone who has longevity in the game now, is your training different?
My feeling is you should probably focus on doing everything right now, because the past is history and the future is a mystery, my man. Right? So what do you got? You got right here, right now. So you want to train a certain way. You want to eat a certain way. You want to make sure there's a certain amount of mindfulness in your lifestyle. You want to surround yourself with the right kind of positive, upbeat people. No more finger pointers and naysayers and a-holes. You know what I mean? If they're in, get them out, because they're dragging you like an anchor down to the bottom of the ocean, right? So that's all the things that you need to do for now. Like longevity, I've been to so many longevity conferences where there's hack 1 and hack 2. It's a big hackathon on how to take this or do that, or massage, oil on your index finger knuckles so that you can, whatever.
While kettlebell swinging,
right? And I've been to those events,
in
and
the sauna.
75% of them are overweight and couldn't climb a set of stairs if the escalator was out. You know what I'm saying? So my whole philosophy is, let's all work on the things that we need to do that are important to you. If you want to go to Italy and you want to get on a bike tour on the Appian Way where Caesar spent some time when he built Rome from nothing, you know what I mean? Then you could either A, exercise 5 to 6 days a week the rest of your life, eat some healthy food, a lot of vegetables, all right? You can be paleo or keto or vegetarian, vegan, or whatever the heck you want to be, but let's make sure that it's not fat, sugar, salt, and chemicals, and it's whole grains, and it's veggies and fruits and healthy fats, etc., right? Which is basically what I do. I'm a part-time vegan. So people go, well, you're either an all-time vegan or a part-time vegan. You can't be a part-time vegan. I can be what I want to be. Just leave me alone and you go bother with yourself. You know what I mean? And so longevity is great, dude. But
Here,
I mean,
man,
I don't know.
here.
I could step out of the studio and go, oh, look, the bus took me out. I hope I live. Like my number's 109. That's what I kind of feel like. Because as a 65-year-old, I kind of feel like a 25-year-old. And I figure at 109, I'll feel like I do when most people are in their 80s.
That's what the kids are calling now. What is that? Boy math? I think it's
boy math.
It's called boy math. There's this thing going on. My wife told me about it on TikTok. It's girl math versus boy math. It's like, that's boy math. Girl math is, I spent $500 on Amazon today, but I felt bad, so I returned $40 of it. But then tomorrow I go buy $40 more of Amazon stuff and call it free. It cancels each other out.
Genius.
That's girl math, apparently.
You go, girls.
Yeah.
Smart.
But I digress.
Yes.
What do you think is the biggest mistake people are making when choosing to embark upon a fitness journey with the long haul in mind?
And the long haul is not a bad thing. I hope to live a long time, but I mean, my like I said, the
long haul being able to physically move and be active for as long as
you
possible.
get past your 40s, 50s,
right.
60s,
Not
70s,
trying to be a
and beyond.
bodybuilder until I'm 90.
Yeah, right. What was the question?
What is the biggest mistake you think or you see people make?
The biggest mistake people are making now are the same mistakes they were making in the early aughts, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s.
Really?
It's the same mistakes. They want too much too fast without having to do a whole lot to get there.
So we haven't learned our lesson.
We haven't learned our lesson yet. And there's still a lot of, there's still a lot of people in the media who have these certain products, You know what I mean? And they're trying to tell us, and they have celebrity spokesperson, and they have these testimonials, real or fake. I don't know, hard to say sometimes. And
Before
we're getting,
and after with different models.
yeah, we're getting bamboozled and lied to about what it really requires. What it requires is a reason why, right? There is a reason so important that you understand that your physical movements affect your mental and emotional state, which is really who you are as a human person, like how you interact with others, how you respond to things, your level of creativity and productivity, and your ability to find answers as opposed to sit in the problem the whole time. That comes from physical movement, and it's all chemical. It's all inside the temporal lobe, the hippocampus, the dentate gyrus. This is where this stuff lives. You can get it from and oh, I keep messing with the mic. You can get it from outside sources, right? For these little short-term moments of pleasure and joy, which lead to long-term problems, typically, the next day, the next week, a shorter lifetime. Or you can find the source. You can get up and have a cup of coffee or two, and that's going to change your state. Or you can get out in your boxer shorts and do 5 or 6 sun salutations, and now you're using the human body and oxygen inside of your blood that goes into your brain that does so much. You burn calories. You don't need the Java. You don't need the caffeine. It's really up to you. One is easy, one is hard, right? Everything that you think is easy, you think there's a hack, it might or it probably might not work out so well. And so that's it. What is your purpose and what's your plan? Like your fitness and what you eat, you got to do that in advance. You have to figure out that stuff in advance, and you have to announce it to the world. This is when I work out. This is what I'm going to eat. You're hanging out with your buddies, and they're all eating pizza and drinking beers, and then you don't. You decide to get a salad and a soda, and they give you a hard time. Oh, you can't be like, what are you, 5? What are you, in high school? Hey, fellas, look, you all look like shit. You can't get up a set of stairs. You won't play ball anymore. I can do everything, and I'm 10 years older than you. Make a decision. You can live. You want to live? Come with me. All right? You want to die young? Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Man, your fire, your passion, your energy, like, guys.
I mean, I speak the truth, the whole truth.
This is
like
the goal.
Yeah, this is it, man. Purpose, plan, and accountability. And accountability, a lot of people can get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, go down to their basement. It's 42 degrees and they live in Minnesota, and they can do plyo or yoga by themselves, and they can do it consistently. Congratulations. Thank you for your service. That ain't me. I surround myself with people who want to do what I want to do. And I'm always on the email, and I'm always texting, and I'm always calling, hey, come on over. Some guy was walking down my street. Turns out he was the FBI gang member task force leader. He was just saying hello because he got some results from my tonal workouts. And now he's at my house 4 days a week.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So, always reach out for people who are living large. I did a course called Living Large, and that a lot of it has to do with, the company that you keep. And so if I got people that push the envelope and push me, then I'm going to get better automatically,
What have been some of, or even the biggest struggle you've had over the decades trying to emphasize and drive home this message? Because I agree, it's not fucking rocket science what we need to do and how we need to stay adherent, right? We don't need all these breakdowns. Just look, do this shit. It works. Find what works for you. Be happy, be healthy for the long haul. But we're humans. And with some of us are humans.
Ace, go ahead.
But with this, AI, technology, social media, as you've seen over the years, what has been the biggest struggle you've had in navigating advancements in technology, air quote here, advancements in technology, to keep people on track?
2 things. One, like I said before, we are surrounded with misinformation. In the old days, it was 3 channels, ABC, CBS, and NBC, and then you get so much from that.
Get the news in the morning,
and then you
news
go
in
to
the
the
evening.
library and you
That's
read
it.
books, and you go to take a course or class or school, right? But now you're inundated from every angle on every device about things that probably don't necessarily work, because the people that are sending that message care more about their bank accounts and their stockholders than you. And the other thing too, which is true, and it's always been true, and it'll continue to be true, is you cannot give advice to people who aren't ready for it. The worst kind of advice to give is the kind that's never been asked for in the first place, because your best intentions are received with resentment. Like, hey man, I finally got in shape, and I got these friends that don't buy into my parents. I go, well, then don't help them. They're not ready. When they knock on your door or ring your bell or say, hey man, help me because it looks like you're still living this lifestyle, then you help them. Even if it's your best friend, even if it's your wife, even if it's your kids, even if it's your parents. All right. And if you can't, and if you don't have that around you, then you got to go search for it someplace else where you can have, you know what I mean? Rock climbers hang out with rock climbers. You know what I mean? Mountain bikers hang out with mountain bikers. They don't hang out with drug addicts and drunks. You know what I mean? They hang out with other people who are kicking ass.
I've heard you mention a couple of times the rest and digest part of life. You know, the chill, the mindfulness, the meditation. I think definitely heard you say mindfulness. Was this always a part of your plan, a part of your lifestyle, or has this been a relatively new addition?
Relatively new, but I had to get super, super sick for that to happen to me.
What happened?
And I got Ramsay-Hunt syndrome back in, me and Justin Bieber, yay! And our state senator.
Is that temporary paralysis?
Well,
right?
it's Ramsay-Hunt syndrome is shingles in your brain. So the shingles usually occur visually from your ear. You'll see all the pussy, nasty. It's actually called something really sexy called herpes zoster. Yeah, you want to say Ramsay-Hunt syndrome because it sounds cool. But if you say herpes zoster, people go, ew. And
is that like the Black Plague?
It feels like Black Plague in your ear. It affects your sight, your smell, your taste, and your balance. And so you can't really do anything. All you can do is sleep and weep. That's it. That's what I could do.
You got to ride the train.
You got to ride the train, and you got to take you got to go to the physical therapist and just getting out of bed and putting on your clothes and getting in the car. And every time the car turns left or right, you can't turn your head quicker than this. So when I first started to drive again, when I got to a stop sign, I was there for a minute.
Yeah.
Because I would do this, and my brain would go, I'm not ready yet. And bright lights and dark rooms. Still, when I walk into a dark room, still like today outside when it was super bright and sunny walking in here, I could feel it. And this is 6 years later.
6 years.
6 years later.
Wow.
So nerves are funny. I mean, if you know anything about, how the body heals, skin heals at a certain rate, bones at a certain rate, your organs at a certain rate. But nerves, some of them never come back. People who get Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, almost everybody gets an after effect called bilateral vestibular hypofunction. So if this is vertigo, right? Bilateral vestibular hypofunction, it's a mouthful, is like this.
Interesting. So you feel like you're kind of like shaking, vibrating?
I feel like that. And whenever
you're off center.
Off center. Or I would just stand and just tumble sometimes. Wow. But I can throw on a pair of skis and go down a double black like I'm a teenager.
So how did you get through it?
I got through it the same way I got through from being depressed and sad and broke and single and da-da-da. I would get on the treadmill and I would walk for 3 minutes.
Even in that pain?
No. First 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. First 3 months where I lost 25, 30 pounds. I couldn't do anything. The physical therapy sessions were just brutal. Like that big, you can't see it there, but that love wallpaper you have on that door.
Yeah, you can see it in the shot behind me.
You can.
Yeah.
That's what the physical therapist would make me look at while I walked in a straight line. And it was just
like this kind of collage.
That kind of collage where the colors would kind of clash and stuff. I'm having flashbacks, Chase, right now.
Shit. Hold on. We don't need a PTSD flashback of colors here.
But no, I had to. It was
trying to get your brain to grab hold of like the confusion.
I started skiing about 6 months afterward. I ran into a tree full on. I thought I broke my femur. Oh, no. My reaction time was way, way off. But with every passing year, it gets a wee bit better. But then I'll have these little setbacks.
Are they like little tremors or?
Well, they're not a tremor. It's just this. It's just. I feel old. I feel weird. I feel weak, and it makes me tired. I also had Epstein-Barr, which is no good, and I had leaky gut, which is no good. So I had all these things
all around the same time.
All around the same time. Well, the Epstein-Barr and all that is manifested through the shingles thing.
Yeah, your immune system was probably just like an open.
And it was stress. And so getting back to your mindfulness thing, I read John Kabat-Zinn's book, Full Catastrophe Living. That's a thick book, tiny little print. But man, I just learned how to meditate, and I learned breathwork, and I read David Nestor's, or I think it's David Nestor's book, Breath. And I just
James Nestor.
James Nestor, thank you. And I'd I need answers from people who are professionals about the stuff that I'm suffering from. And and when I was first coming out, I was a personal development guy. Like if you look at my bookshelf, it's all mountain climbing, mountaineering, and personal development on my shelf. Those are the things that I needed at that time. And so, and I think Justin Bieber had a relapse because I think he tried to rush coming out as a recovery.
Yeah, I remember hearing he had to cancel a lot of his tour stuff when it seemed like he was on the mend, but he kind of too much too soon kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm a big mindset guy, big mental resilience guy, and I can tell you when I have slipped in the mental resiliency work, it doesn't take that long, honestly, for my physical resilience to kind of go off as well. It's just kind of like a slippery slope for me in terms of where I'm thinking, where I'm looking, goal setting, and then a slippery slope into maybe letting other things slide, habits, my training schedule. I don't think I'm alone in that. What would be your insight into someone who maybe is feeling like their physical fitness, their physical resilience is slipping, but yet they're air quote here doing all the right things? And let's shift to the mental resilience, the mindset. Like, how do you go about training the mind to therefore support training the body?
You described me prior to getting Ramsey Hunt. I was doing all the right things. I was exercising regularly, but I wasn't dealing with my stress. And that's what mindfulness is. That's what meditation and breath work is. It's letting the pendulum swing in the other direction for just a little bit. And most of us would get that if we were monks on a mountain with our own our own organic farm and our own goats.
Truth.
And there was no stress, and it was always 72.5 degrees out.
We had the perfect life.
Right, and there was a nice mist that came up in the morning, and then you slept with kittens. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, nobody has that anymore, right? I mean, look what's going on in the world. And I was, Tom Petty passes away. I was friends that were at the Vegas shooting. That was the day before. And then my contract with Beachbody was coming to an end after 20 years of service.
Wow.
For reasons that I don't want to get into this right now. And every time I get into it on a podcast, I get in trouble.
Do I need to get you and Darren on the show to hash it out?
Darren O'Lean?
Yeah. He's a homie.
Oh, no. I love Darren.
Tony's like, I'm out.
No, Darren's awesome, man. I'm a big fan.
Just
whatever.
I say that because like the way you connect dots in the fitness
it's
industry
business.
is mind blowing. Yeah,
it's business. But it affected me dramatically. It sent me down a horrible rabbit hole. I was freaked out. I had a mortgage 1, mortgage 2, fancy cars. You know what I mean? Like, but then I thought, oh, am I going to be like Wesley Snipes or MC Hammer now? I mean, I thought I was going to be that guy. And so whatever, I found other ways to make money. My own supplement line, I'm on total other things. So I got very lucky. And by the way, the relationship I had with Beachbody, it is because of them. It was because of Carl Deichel. It was because of all that, that I can sit here in this chair and tell you I had this amazing ride. They get full credit for that. Bang. You know what I mean? But whatever, I wish they had made a different decision, but they didn't. All that was happening. And I remember there was a plyo class. I'm doing a plyo class at 5:30, so I don't know. I know you got another session, but you're invited any time. Oh, and I remember everybody was just kind of effing off in the class, and all these things had happened. Like Tom had died the day before. I mean, I trained Tom for 32 years.
Just domino effect of
just all that
horrible events.
Like, right? And people in the class were like, I said, hey, you're all here on my time. You're not having to spend a penny, and you're all chit-chatting and not doing what I'm asking. So if you don't, and then I turned into my father. Right? Just F-bombs and screaming, and they all had like that deer in the headlight, like, holy shit, he's losing.
I can imagine,
and within
Mr.
2
Tank
days,
Commander.
2 days, I got this weird itch in my ear. And then bang, it exploded. And so I had to go through that. I had to have that hell and pain. And now I meditate. I don't meditate as much as I did when I was going through that in the years after that. My whole thing is breath work right now. It's all like body scan work. Just
Please unpack that for us.
Yeah.
The power of breath work. It's phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Please, what's
because
been your experience?
You're getting a lot of that brain chemistry shift that you would get. Like if you're really having a tough time, a lot of people will sit in it. Right, and they'll make it worse through whatever their behavior and their words, and they'll let it fester, and they'll punch walls and all the things they usually do, which are things I used to be a fan of, and I went, this doesn't serve me anymore. So it's hard, dude, it's hard, especially when you're in the middle of it. And so I just have to put my hands on a counter or sit down and close my eyes and turn off the lights, and so whatever box breathing you want to do, I'll do 4x4s, I'll do 4x6x8s, I'll do whatever numbers, I'll do big breath holds. This our new program, the Empower Sync 60 has an amazing breath work session with hyperventilation, which people think is scary and hard and bad. But if you're sitting down, it has. You can hyperventilate for a minute, and then you don't have to exhale for like 2. It's an amazing.
That I want to highlight real quick. That has been one of the most profound experiences. I've done breath work a lot, and when you get to a point to where you just exist, you do not need to inhale, you do not need to exhale. I've done it I think for a couple minutes. It feels like that long, but probably at least a minute.
Right.
I'm not breathing. I'm not any air in, any air out. I'm just purely existing. Yeah. Oh my God.
But you don't want to do that while driving your car.
No. I don't recommend it. No.
Yeah. But there's also other kinds of mindfulness. Like I always tell people, what are your 10 mindfulness practices? Cranking up, rambling on from Led Zeppelin full blast and just sitting in that. I mean, that's, if I'm from the 60s and 70s,
I love it.
then that's a form because you're present. Like you're present in the music. You're present in Robert Plant, right? And what he's doing there. I'm in the yard. We have a place in Jackson Hole. I broke out the clippers. I broke out the shovel and the pickaxe, and I started whacking at my ski out trail. And I'm covered in burrs, and it's effing cold, but I don't care because it's amazing. Going for a long bike ride is one. Hanging out with my dog Charlie is one. I mean, I have, listening to music is one. Watching a reruns of I Love Lucy is a mindfulness practice because you're caught up in this amazing talent from that time and you're laughing your ass off. And so anything that is the opposite of what stress does, then you could inhale 4, hold for 4, exhale.
Just
4,
be here.
You could do that too.
Just be here.
But if you're in the car or if you're on the John or if you're in a Zoom call with people and you're getting information that doesn't necessarily turn you on, you can very quietly do your breath work and absorb the information better and retain it better because you're not just right? You're not just gritting your teeth and furrowing your brow and gnashing your teeth. You know what I mean?
Not actually problem solving, only exacerbating your literal cortisol
just being
levels.
in the moment by doing something or listening to something or breathing in a certain way that brings you into a nice calm state.
I know we're kind of making fun a little bit of the hacks earlier, and look, I'm a hack guy. I got my things, but I give so much shit to
By the way,
all the hacks.
I give the hacking a hard time. There's a lot of it now that isn't even considered hacking anymore,
Right.
Because it's new practices that work.
Right.
But
It's like, guys, I found the latest biohack. Apparently, you just you go to sleep at the same time, and you wake up at the same time, and then when you wake up, you just go outside. Biohack. No, it's called fucking every human ever for the last
it's called
bajillion years.
getting some decent sleep at the same hours every night.
Yeah.
So that your circadian cycle is working for you for the day following. Yeah. As opposed to burning the candle at both ends, staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning, knowing you got to get up at 6, and then you're going to get up and do everything right and eat healthy food and have no cravings and make sure you have a kick-ass workout. Not going to happen. Like the number one mindfulness practice is go to bed.
Oh my God, sleep.
Go to bed.
Sleep.
Yeah.
Prioritize your sleep, change your life, I promise you. But again, as someone, I have to leverage your professional history here, who has been in the fitness, the well-being industry, I'll say, for decades.
You keep saying decades. I get older and older every time.
Hasn't it been decades?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah?
I started
I want to give you all the credit.
training
but
people in 19, by the way. It's 1985 or 6.
Okay, so you have been doing this for as long as I've been alive, born in 85.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Decades.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you very much.
Again, I got to leverage your history and your experience here. Maybe it's awareness theory, but I feel like now kind of the hacks, the meditation, this kind of softer side of fitness is finally getting the front line attention that it deserves.
Yeah.
And I think is really the missing key for a lot of people. Would you agree? And is this something that you think people are maybe grabbing hold of the wrong things? How would you really navigate kind of the parasympathetic, the rest and digest part of fitness? What would be some tips you have for people to really do it right?
Well, I think there's two sides to the coin. And one of them is there's no reason, if you're doing a lot of things right and you're paying attention to, your diet and your mindfulness and the quality of the workouts that you're doing and, your stress is down and all these other things that are really important, then you can push the envelope. I push the envelope. I have a 20-foot rope. I climb up the 20-foot rope. I do 20 pull-ups and I come down in an L. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just can do that because I'm doing all the other things right. My recovery, I have a cold plunge. I think I'm going to get a better one. And
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Thank you. Or get this one fixed, hopefully, because they've been very kind to me, and thank you very much. And my sleep is better now, and the Theragun and the foam rolling and everything else. So that way I can push the envelope. But at the same time, you have to adapt. You know what I mean? You're not going to be hucking Corbett's Couloir in Jackson Hole. It's like this elevator shaft. It's the most dangerous entrance to a ski run in America.
Wow.
It's just an elevator shaft with rocks on either side. And I've been in there 3 times. I fell in twice.
Humble brag, everybody.
I've been in there 3 times. But most people look in and go, are you?
I fell in 3 times.
I fell in twice. And one time I actually almost sort of semi-landed it. But it requires a lot of skill and a lot of cojones. But at a certain age, you have to learn how to adapt. You have to age gracefully. All right? So you're going to need more mindfulness. You're going to learn how to maybe possibly it's more of a high rep day, or maybe you don't have to try to, you don't have to run the 10 miles.
Learn how to listen to your body and respond accordingly, right?
Yeah, there you go. You said it better than I did. Yeah, but like I did a run, and I did a run in Jackson Hole last week that I normally do. So instead of just running at the same pace and turning around 3 miles out and 3 miles in, I ran my regular speed for like an 80 count. I literally count 1. Every double step was a rep. 1, 2, 3. But I got the earbuds on. I'm playing the music or whatever. And then for the from 80 to 100, I sprint, man. It's fast. I extended my stride, and then I would walk.
All right.
And then I would jog, and then I would sprint, and then I would
because
walk.
you just felt like that's what you needed to do.
That's what I felt like I needed.
Okay.
But most people, they're so myopic. They're so, I don't want to use the word pious about how it has to be. And then if it doesn't go the way you want it to be, it doesn't match what you used to do, then you start judging it.
It's like an all or nothing kind of thing.
Yeah, and then when you start judging it, you judge the experience, then you didn't. How could you enjoy the experience if you judge the experience? And now it's going to affect your desire and determination to get after it again. But if you go, oh, I'm gonna go 5 miles today. I'm gonna go 4, because anything, if you're listening to your body, is always better than nothing. It always is. You know what I mean? And then with that philosophy, and you're consistent, because you can't work out 2 days in a row and take 3 days off and 2 days in a row, because you're going to end up with exercise bipolar disorder, right? All those chemicals in your brain. And then on day 3, when you take why am I so depressed? And why is it so hard to get going again? It's because it's this thing that you've done with fitness, but you don't do it with your bills, and you don't do it with food, and you don't do it with work, and you don't do it with
Yes.
everything else.
Yes.
Because all the things that we automatically always do, we do those things so we can survive. And surviving is cute, right? That's what most people do. But do you want to thrive, or do you want to survive? If you want to thrive, come with me.
I'm coming with them. I'm going with you. I do have one more podcast, but then we'll go after that.
Okay.
So with your new program that you have coming out, depending on when we get this out here, what is different about this experience, and why are you so excited to bring this to the world now?
Well, P90X was revolutionary. There's nothing like it. I mean, people still,
to say the least.
They stop me all the time still. At the airport, LAX, there's this guy who's a doc over at UFC who's teaching at UPenn now or something. I mean, he's just like, dude, he's just a dude. I'm trying to get in the car, and there's a dude, he wants a selfie, and he wants to tell me his story. And I'm in, because I love it.
Yeah.
And, I could tell the story, because if I just went, hey, sorry, man, no pictures. If I'm that kind of a ding-dong, I wouldn't, He goes, your program has sent me in a direction that would have never happened. I'm so happy and pleased with my life because of what you did. What I did, the hammer doesn't build a house. I gave you a tool, you used it, and now you're a doctor. And
Love
you're
that.
teaching
I love
at
that.
UPenn. You're teaching at Ivy League school, which is really, really cool. So those stories still exist. Those programs were mind-bending, and they've changed lives. X2 has turned, Division III people into professional athletes. I mean, that's, I didn't intend that. I was just trying to, get some.
Hell of a downstream.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so, but since then, I've been around a while, and I've done my work and research. I've changed some things. So the pandemic was a horrible thing for a lot of people, but for me, it was a time to kind of, what am I going to do? So I started these beta programs online just to get people moving, and I did free Wednesday plyo, I did free Friday yoga, and I did free, yoga was Saturday, Friday was Shauna and Tony dance party. We would just play music, and, pop and lock. And,
having fun, play.
Just to get people moving again,
yeah.
make that interaction. And we had beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. So we, it turned into this business called Power Nation, and we put out this 24 workout. Eventually, when we all felt safe and didn't have to wear masks anymore, we shot 24 workouts for the Power of 4.
Wow! And
then a good friend of yours and mine, Dr. Mindy Pelz, we're on a podcast.
Shout out, Mindy.
Mindy, we love you. You're amazing and incredible. And she said, when I did P90X, I had to change the schedule. I mean, the schedule was great for dudes because of their hormonal situation, but women's hormones don't operate that way. It's very, very different. And based on her research, she would, it was not chest and back, it was yoga. It was not, plyometrics, it was Breathwork, and she would just toy with it. And so
rearranging all the components based on
rearranging the schedule.
Menstrual cycle.
And so she got to avoid the boardom and the injuries and the plateaus, which are the reason why, which are just workout kill, results kill. And that's how she was able to get through that. And when she went through that, she said, man, I hope one day I could have a conversation with Tony Horton, because he is the guy that I want to build that program with. So we had that conversation on a podcast like this. 9 months later, we shot it.
Wow.
Like bang, that's the kind of turnover.
That's
it's out in the world.
Action takers, I love it.
Yeah, and we've had 2 test groups, 100 and something in the first one and 90 something in the other one. And these women are blown away because they're not fried. They're not overly sore. They feel like this sequence. And in the workouts, we we have something called powering up and powering down. Now, in P90X days, we called it, intensification modification. But this is just new terminology for basically the same thing. It's not muscle confusion, Arnold. Okay, pal? So don't give me a hard time about powering up and powering down. And also what I wanted to do, because it changes, there's 11 workouts, but in the 11 workouts, there's at least 1, 2, or 3 stop options. And the reason why a lot of people never got results in the past, because they're comparing the workout they got to do now to the hard work they used to do when they were younger and had time and whatever.
Which kills every program.
Yeah,
When you
it's
don't
like,
follow
oh, wow,
the program.
I got an hour and 5-minute
Yeah.
plyometric session. I think I'll just take a nap. But no, what if I said you can go the first 15 or 20 minutes and stop and then move to the cool down. And then when you get to the first stop option later on, or maybe if you got the energy all of a sudden, you go to the second stop option. And everybody feels like, oh, I mean, that combination of those things are ultimate excuse killers. And I think that's the reason why, women in their 50s, 60s, and 70s in our test group, even if they're not getting that positive reinforcement at home, and a lot of them weren't, oh, God damn it, honey, you're buying another fitness thing and a diet. I'm sick and tired. You waste so much money. Just accept who you are. Like, there's a lot of that crap going on.
Yeah.
And one woman was in tears in a Zoom call. She said, I've tried everything, and this is the first thing that's worked. First thing, 71-year-old woman.
Wow,
She wanted to lose 10. She didn't think she was going to. She lost 15.
Wow. Amazing.
And it's not a weight loss program. It's just to feel better about yourself and be able to function better in the world program. And there's men can do it too, but men have their men's calendar. They got their testosterone calendar ready, set, go.
Well, Tony, we're going to have all of your information down in the show notes. Man, I got to have you back again. You're just a wealth of information, good vibes. Man, the stories, we got to do some more. So thank you, seriously, for coming on the show
Yeah, we'll do a
today.
session on I'll tell you the Billy Idol stories,
please.
the Stephen Stills stories. Give me a full 90 minutes.
Please.
But then I'm going to have to wait till they all pass away before I tell that few stories. No, it was an amazing ride.
We'll get a couple NDAs in the show notes, but
we'll send those
you've definitely embodied it, and you've talked a lot about it without actually knowing it. But you are the ideal person that I look for when I look for a guest. You continuously move forward. You learn how to move forward every day, and you don't stop there. You help others do that as well. So my last question is to live a life ever forward. When I say those two words, what does that mean to you?
Patience, optimism, altruism, being a good listener, and being open and being curious. Curiosity.
No muscle confusion?
No, well, there's that too. And then faith. Faith
like
is
that.
big, man.
I like
I mean, look, you don't have to be a religious person. You can be a secular person and still have faith in what you're doing. And when you have faith with it, you'll probably stick with it. You know what I mean? And the patience is important too, because that's where, when we were talking earlier, those are the things that where people get stuck. It's not, I mean, it was called P90X, not P23 days in X. You know what I mean? It's gonna, and for a lot of people, it was P120X. It's just,
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? All my programs are minimum 60 days. And longer, because you go from first grade. Oh, you got an A, you got all A's in first grade. Let's put you in grad school. No, it takes you 12 years to get through school. I'm giving you 3 months to change who you are with decent exercise and diet. It's not that hard if you really put your nose to the grindstone.
You're just another, again, testament to what I believe and what I try to drive home in my content and the show is that, look, we can learn some really cool nuances from a lot of different things.
Sure.
We can learn the hacks, the tips, the tricks, but man, the secret to life, everybody says the same thing. And it's all what you just said, man.
What are the hacks, the trips, and the tips to get through your first year of med school? There ain't none, man.
Embrace the suck.
There ain't.
Just embrace the suck, yeah.
bro. I mean, you want to advance, you got to decide, you got to decide how hard you want to work. And this comes from a very lazy kid whose middle name I thought in school was procrastination. Tony, Procrastination Horton. I didn't like pain. I didn't like agony. I didn't like to learn. I didn't like anything. I had ADD, ADHD, LMNOP, NYPD Blue. I had all the acronyms, man. And,
now
and
look
I
at you, man.
I got here, so anybody can.
Well, Tony, thank you. It's been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks.
It's been so good.
Yeah.